Hi, I'm Paul Guppy. I'm Vice President for the Washington Policy Center, and this is our regular update on what our research and publications are doing and what the Washington Policy Center activity has been over the last month, and then what issues and projects that we see coming up. So here is a quick update. The most important thing that we're working on right now are citizens guide publications that are related to ballot measures around the state. Normally we do these for major statewide ballot initiatives, and there aren't any of those this year. So we looked at local initiatives that are important, and we are publishing citizens guides on 3 of those. One of them is an income tax ban proposal in the city of Yakima. Jason Mercier has written a study about that. And another one is a rent control limitation measure in the city of Bellingham. And I've written a short analysis about that, and we're going to be putting that on our website. And then also in the city of Bellingham, there is a series of restrictive work rules and job killing regulations that have been proposed on the ballot. And Mark Harmsworth on our staff has written a analysis about that initiative as well. And the reason that's important is because the same kind of ideas are also being considered in the city of Seattle. City Council is looking at rent control proposals and also job killing regulations as well. So our analysis about the Bellingham initiatives will show whether those ideas have traction in our state. We'll see how that comes out. The next issue we've worked on is Pam Lewison, who's the head of our agriculture center, has written a great op-ed that appears in the Seattle Times. And to us, that's important because we are trying to reach an urban audience with a message about how agriculture, food production is important to the economy of our state. We have found that the political powers in our state are increasingly urban based, and that there isn't a strong voice for agriculture. And so Pam is providing that, and that was a great project that was successful. Another step forward for us is a new video on our Free Markets Destroy website, and that's kind of cutting edge and radical. It's geared towards a younger audience. And what we're doing there is explaining how free markets break down barriers among people and actually destroy racism, destroy discrimination. And the classic example we use is the Sears mail order catalog, which over the course of a century opened up markets and opportunity for people who had been shut out of regular society. And next is Liv Finna is continuing to monitor public schools, what's going on there. She has seen a pattern of falling academic standards as critical race theory and other controversial programs are pushed in the public schools. She's already getting pushback from the bureaucracy, as you would expect, and political forces that are saying, like, there's no drop in academic standards. What are you talking about? We're still teaching math, science, and so on. But what she has found is that for every minute that's spent on critical race theory in the classroom, ideology, indoctrination robs students of the time that they need to study the basics and get a good education. She has also found that school choice programs are becoming increasingly popular, that 18 states across the country have expanded school choice, and we're seeing a greater demand in Washington state as well, because naturally parents respond, if you are not providing academics in the classroom, I would like to take my child and the funding that they're entitled to and go to another school. So we're seeing growth on that front as well. Elizabeth Hovde continues to be the state's #1 independent expert on the new long-term care payroll tax that's coming into effect in January. She is hearing increasing resistance as people hear about this new program. It's becoming unpopular. Most people don't know about it, but when they realize that there's a mandatory long-term care entitlement program that will only benefit a limited number of people, and yet all workers are going to have to pay into it, that is creating more public resistance. One feature of it is that because it's a payroll tax, people who live in Idaho and Oregon and live and work in Washington state will have to pay the tax, but will receive no benefits at all. Also, retirees who move out of state also will receive no benefits. So information about this is spreading. Elizabeth is producing a report on the impact of the payroll tax, and she's already hearing from state lawmakers who are thinking about repealing this, proposing that in the legislature in January, and we'll see where that issue goes as well. And then lastly, we continue to stay on top of the state income tax that the Democrats enacted back in the spring. The governor signed that bill in May, and it was immediately challenged in court because a graduated income tax is unconstitutional in our state. That's very straightforward. Jason is the leading expert in doing that kind of research, contacting all other states about how they deal with an income tax, putting that together, and we're finding that the legal briefs that are being filed in court include our research findings and the work that Jason has done in order to make an argument against an income tax. There were 2 victories in court that we had just in the last month. One is the Attorney General tried to have a motion to dismiss, just throw the case out right away. That failed. He also tried a political move to move the case from a judge in Douglas County to Thurston County, which is where the state capital is. And obviously the Attorney General is trying to get into a more friendly court. That also failed, and the case will be heard in Douglas County to begin with. There will likely be an appeal, and then eventually we'll go to the state Supreme Court, and we'll see what those judges say about it. But we're happy to provide the expertise for that. And then separately on the income tax, we see that there's a growing grassroots movement across the state to enact income tax bans at the local level. Seattle already tried an income tax ban. It was struck down in court, but there are communities around the state that are not waiting for this to be pushed, and instead they're enacting an income tax ban at the city and county level. And as I mentioned earlier, the latest initiative on that is in the city of Yakima. Spokane has already done this in a number of other communities. That's important for 2 reasons. The first one is that it sends a signal to politicians that the income tax remains deeply unpopular. No matter how much you describe it as being tax the rich, we all know that once an income tax is in place, that it will soon be expanded to the rest of us. And the second thing is, we're not naive about influences on the elected judges here in Washington state, particularly our state Supreme Court. So they have already made rumblings about trying to overturn decades of legal precedent and have some kind of ruling that would allow an income tax in Washington state. Politically, politicians who support an income tax, they want that cover from the courts. They want the courts to rule, and then that would allow them to enact a broader income tax bill. So the resistance and the income tax bans that we're seeing at the local level, we think send an important signal to judges to not treat this case politically, and instead look at the clear language of the state constitution when ruling on that. So we'll continue to track that issue. And then as a wrap up, we're excited that our annual dinners will be live in Spokane. Our event there will be on October 15th. And our speaker is Dr. Ben Carson, and we're excited to hear from them. And with that, thanks as always for your support, and I'll be back in the future with another update.